Okay, little video, quick little video update. I've been busy the last few weeks, out in Sweet Lamb, over in Wales quite a bit, doing some trail riding on the TTR and also on the KTM 390, then trips on the 411s and the 450. So a fair bit to update, which I'll try and churn through over the next few days. But for now, I just wanted to do a little intro video on this Beta Alp. I went up yesterday to John Lee's in Northampton to collect it. It's a second-hand bike. It was a good opportunity to also take the Himalayan 450 up for a service at Cooperb in Northampton, where I got it from, so it was sort of killing two birds with one stone. I'd had an eye on the Beta Alps for a while, but if I've got to be honest, I think the list price at £6,000, it just put me off a bit, in terms of adding one to the fleet for people to ride. I thought it got merit, I thought it was interesting, but at 6,000, certainly against the competition, the CF Moto 450, which I know is a different type of bike, but the value proposition is still high at 5,600. We've got the new KTM 390 Enduro coming through, which again is under 6,000. So there's lots of bikes out there which I thought offered better value. I was told by a dealer that all the dealers were had been able to offer an £800 discount, bringing them down to 5,200, and then I found this one with 100 miles on it for 4,600. So I thought, yeah, that feels the right price for this type of bike. And it was a lady owner who'd bought it, wanted something manageable and small, but found it a little bit too tall, so dropped it in. And to be honest, I think she'd be better with the original Beta, the 200 with a Suzuki engine in it. I've never had a Beta. I don't know too much about the brand. Obviously, I know that the Beta Alp has been a popular bike for people wanting a manageable, accessible trail bike, nothing too big and fancy. This new one came out last year. There's also the X model with the 19-inch front wheel with a slightly broader tyre. This is the standard Alp version with a 21-inch front and an 18-inch rear. I think suspension travel is down a little bit on the older models by 10-20 mil. Tank size is 11 litres. Seat height is a claimed 860. Now I'm 5'10" with a 32 inch inseam, and I'm flat-footed on that. It's a little bit soft at the rear, so maybe it wants a little bit more preload on that rear shock. There is no adjustability on the front. It's just a regular conventional fork, not an upside downer. The engine, interestingly, is the 350 liquid cooled single cylinder from the Zontes adventure range, or the Zontes range of bikes. So there isn't a Chinese connection with this Italian bike. It does say made in Italy on it, but the switchgear looks to be from the Fantic Caballero, which again has got Chinese connections. The screen looks to be from a Zontes adventure bike. As I say, the engine is. So what parts are Italian, what parts are Chinese? I quite suspect most of it's Chinese, if I'm honest. Just with Italian assembly of maybe final production or tweaks and things like that. I think my interest in this bike in particular, and it was showcased at the weekend when we went to Wales. We had a Welsh weekend there, had 45 riders there with a mix of road and trail. You could do what you wanted. And that is a perfect litmus test for this type of bike, whether it's the Himalayans, the CRFs, or if you want to go bigger, the 700s, the 800s. It's what kind of job do they do at getting you to Wales, and then what kind of job do they do of getting you around the trails in Wales? And obviously that's going to depend on how fast you want to travel on the road, how good you are at trail riding, how much technical trail riding you're wanting to do. I mean, when we went out on a slightly gnarly lane, we found that the 890s, the big KTMs, were a little bit too unmanageable, a little bit overkill, whereas like the Vos 300 worked really well, as did one of the CCM 230s that I sold last year that Ben was on. But obviously they're going to have more work getting to Wales. So, I think when you're trying to find out what's the right bike for you as a travel trail bike, it's that scenario of, well, I want to do 4 hours on the road and then do some trail riding when I get there. And that's, I guess, a good way of assessing what's going to work best for you and where you're willing to compromise. So this, for me, could be that perfect bike, actually. Hopefully it's comfortable. 11 litre tank should give it, 150 mile range. It's 152 kilos or thereabouts. I've just weighed it on my bathroom scales, which I know is not scientific, but it gives a good indication. But it feels manageable. It feels quite taut. It's not got a hell of a lot of travel, but it's going to have enough for sort of Wales and certainly for North Devon. There's no cockpit, so you're going to get some wind buffeting. There's ABS. There's an off-road mode, which I like. You can put some luggage on it. So it could be a really good bike for that. And with this engine, it is. I remember riding a Zontes adventure bike in Wales briefly. The bike itself was terrible, but the engine was pretty good. And just riding it around outside here, it's got a good bottom end. It's nice and smooth and tractable. It's an easy bike to ride, and that's probably where they're pitching it as an accessible, manageable, easy bike to ride. that in my opinion was a little bit overpriced. So if it had come in at 5254 maybe, I think it would have got a bit more traction. But these niche bikes are always a hard sell, I think. I think they always, you know, people are a bit skeptical, uncertain. But what I would say, going up to John Lee's yesterday and also speaking to our local dealer in Exeter, is it's those smaller dealers that are thriving, that are possibly selling the smaller brands, same as Cooper selling Vosges and Royal Enfield. Those smaller boutique where the owner-operated bike shops, I think they're the ones that are going to stand the test of the time. You know, obviously the big multi-franchise dealers seem to be closing. They've obviously got too many overheads, too much going out, but the smaller shops, such as the one where I got this from, they seem to, they've got the knowledge and they've also got the profitability, hopefully, to keep going, which is good to see, because the more interesting, varied types of bikes available, in my opinion, the better. So I'm just going to take you a little bit around it. I grabbed the camera. I'm just waiting for it to go on the insurance, and then I'll do a first ride on it. So that's the Zontes engine, liquid cooled. It's got some bloody cumbersome old bolts here. I don't know what that's all about for the filter. Maybe something a bit more discreet. But nice foot peg. It's not got a flex on it. It's not got a hinge on it. Tubed tyres, V-rubber tyres, which to be honest look pretty good. There's been a slight issue with them. Watching the forums, there's been an issue with the screen on the first ones. They were freezing, and also the mountings were cracking out. They have been replacing them under warranty, and I believe this model is a Euro 5 Plus, which has got an updated, it's got the updated screen. So I'm assured it's not going to fail. Time will tell. Pretty rudimentary. I've seen other people sort of criticising it's not an easy, accessible, navigable screen, but to be honest, as long as it tells me how fast I'm going and how much fuel I've got, then I'll be all right with that. So that's a Caballero switch gear. It's got an off-road mode there, which I like. You know, how simple is that? You just flick it from road to off-road mode. No menus or sub-menus to navigate. Just click of a switch, which I like. Start button there. You know, it's not the prettiest bike, I've got to be honest. The X is probably a better looking bike with the 19-inch front wheel, but I wanted something that was off-road capable for people to try. And that's what you can do. You can come down here and try it back to back with the CRFs and the Himalayans and the new KTM 390 when that comes through. Clicker into life. Oh, where's she going to go? No, clutch needs clutching. I can't do it with my multiple hands, and I'll show you some other bikes I'm going to talk about in a second which are relevant. And I'm going to tell you why they're relevant in a second when I've just fired her into life in a sec. I need a third hand, I need an assistant. Let's just put that. Got a bit of a boggy throttle. Don't know if that's just because it needs some miles on it or what. A little bit boggy. I've still got the foot peg rubbers in, but for me that gives a nice standing position. I've got just nice placement of bars, feels light and manageable. And I think it's going to be a good trail bike, like what we were doing in Wales over some rock steps and things. I think it's going to make good work of it, and then obviously on the motorway or on the A roads getting there, I think it's going to hold 70, 75. I think that's what I've read, you know, about the engine from people who own it. They like the refinement of the engine, so could tick a lot of boxes in that regard. And as I say, for 4,600 with 100 miles on it, I think that's, you know, that feels a really good price. In fairness, the reason I brought these three bikes here, because that's, you know, it's like, what is the competition for that bike? Well, I think the obvious one is probably the CRF, and that's who it's probably going to appeal to as much as anyone. There's been a frustration, I think, with the 300s. Obviously, great trail bikes, and they do travel well, but some people want a bit more pep for the road. You know, 27 horsepower. The Beta, I think it's 35, claimed 35, so it's like 8 brake horsepower up. Should give it a little bit more guts on the road. So that could be a good alternative for the CRF. And also, I think the fact that the Beta suspension seems fine straight out the crate, whereas the CRF, obviously, you know, a lot of people are putting aftermarket suspension on. So actually, £6,000 for the Beta, even if you paid list price, is better than maybe 6,700, 6,500 plus another 1,000 for the suspension to sort the CRF. So, in fairness, if the Beta doesn't come out badly for value, if you take into account that hopefully it doesn't need much doing to it. I think the Himalayans, I think the 411 is relevant because the draw of the Beta is it's a manageable, accessible adventure bike, travel trail bike, which is what the Himalayans done really well at. For there's a lot of people buying this bike to do some trail riding, to do some travel riding. The downside of the Himalayan, it's heavy. It's a heavy bike for people when they drop it. I think the 411 carries its weight better than the 450, but it's still 200 kilos. So it's almost 50 kilos heavier than the Beta. And you think you went on holiday with two of you and you both got 25 kilo suitcases, that's a hell of a lot of weight that you've got to manage, pick up, push around if things go wrong. So I think the Beta could be a good alternative for people who like the Himalayan. The downside is that the seat height of the Himalayan at 800mm is more accessible than 865 or whatever it is on the Beta. I think probably the real nemesis for the Beta is going to be the new KTM 390. So this is the older one with the 19-inch front wheel. It's a bike I took to Wales the other week, and the more I ride this bike, the more I love it. I love the engine, I love the way it rides on the road, and also actually it's really capable off-road obviously with the limitations of ground clearance and 19-inch front wheel and limited suspension travel, but it's still a capable bike. And the new one, the new Enduro with the 2118, is going to be even more capable and also cheaper than the Beta list. The downside of the new KTM is that the dealers are only going to get two of each this year, and chances of getting another one anytime soon probably limited. Whereas the Beta is looks to be in good supply. You could go down to your Beta dealer and buy one tomorrow. So there's a lot of virtues to the Beta that could sway you from that over any of these. But obviously it's how it rides that will be the most important thing. But I have to say, when you buy a bike, and this is my bike, I bought this bike, it's my money, I've worked for this money, it's money I've earned. So I still want to feel like there's a bit of excitement in the bike that I bought. And I tell you what, getting out of the van and putting it in here and listening to it and riding it around the yard, I'm excited about riding it. It feels capable. It looks funky. In the pictures I don't think I like the look of it. And even when I saw it first in the flesh, I thought, oh, that front end's a bit ugly. But the more I've looked around it, the more I've sort of sat on it, the more it feels a nice bike. It feels well put together. I think there's a bit of a downside. As you can see under there, the collector box, the cat at the bottom, sticks south of the engine guard. So that's obviously a vulnerable spot. There's a fair bit of ground clearance, but I think if you're going to do some rock hopping, you might want to put an alley sump guard on. The Betas are now coming out in America. I think obviously the Americans will find a lot of accessories for them, and the Americans are always good in working through some of the issues that you get with the early bikes or bikes when they first come out. So, yeah, that's it. Beta Alp. If you want to come and ride it back to back with the other bikes in the fleet, including CF Moto Triumph 400, the new Enduro KTM when it comes through, go to the website. I've still got to paint this place and decorate, but dorothyspeedshop.com. Got some dates up for September, October. Come down. They're not off-road days. They're not full-on green lane days because I can't afford to have people smash my bikes up. But the back road riding days, a chance to spend some time on all the different bikes and do some easy track just to see what it's like from a standing point of view. And I think people go away generally feeling like they know what to buy now or know what to buy. So I think it's a good little service. You get to ride 5 or 6 bikes in the day, and you go away a little bit more educated on what's going to work for you. So yeah. Beta Alp, there'll be hopefully a DRZ 400 being added when that comes to the UK, but that's I don't know when that's coming. Who knows when the DRZ is coming in September, I've been told. And allegedly the KTM 390s have arrived, and they'll be in dealers soon. So we'll see. So watch this space. All right, take it easy. Cheers.